Good morning, everyone. I say good morning because post-lunch, everybody needs a wake-up call. I can already see a few faces yawning. Uh, Friends, data-driven fleets. So before we get into data-driven fleets, let me give you a quick example of what the transport industry was until a couple of decades back. Transporters, a good transporter, average transporter would have about 50, 60 trucks in his fleet, which were managed using thick registers. We used to have red registers where they used to mention the truck number, driver का नाम, कौन से route पे जा रहा है, कब पहुंचेगा was always blank. And whenever a customer used to call up, सब गाड़ी किधर है? सब गाड़ी आपके गेट के बाहर है, even though that truck used to be some 500 kilometers away. But it was always at the gate of the factory. Things changed. We gradually had telematics, which gave some insight into where the truck probably could be. Even that was not precise data, but it was there. So friends, data is what we call is the new oil. And with oil getting expensive, data is becoming more valuable now. Of late, we've been hearing a lot of our ministers who go in a convoy of 40 vehicles telling you that you need to use oil judiciously. So given that, whatever data we have abundance of data. Trust me, as a transporter, you have so much data now coming out of your truck, out of your back-end operations. The choice is how do you pick the data that is relevant to your business. So today we'll be talking about connected fleets. We'll be talking about what fleets in the future would look like and how well can we use data. Friends, in the last few years, the profit margins of transporters have shrunk from what used to be watermelons once upon a time, which is down to grapes now. I can already see some transporters saying, Abhi to peanuts hai, but peanuts is what you'll see in the next 2-3 years. You are getting grapes now, which is, I think, good. You can make good wine out of it, by the way. So, friends, let me call my panel today. We have a very exciting panel which covers an all-round aspect. We have transporter, we have OEM, we have a lot of service providers who help you manage your transport business. So first up, let me call the two women on the panel, starting with Lakshmi Rao, who's the Deputy General Manager, Sales, After Sales IT and Diagnostics, Daimler Truck Innovation Center India Private Limited. And if anyone of you is still awake, we would appreciate a round of applause to welcome Lakshmi. हाँ यार जगे हुए लोग, not bad. Second up, we have Harinder Pal Kaur, Vice President, Logistics, Northern Cargo Service. We have with us Pratmesh Adhikari, Chief Marketing Officer, Intangles. We have Divikant MC, Lead Product Expert, Vector Informatic India Private Limited. We were supposed to have Mr. Subramaniam Venkateswaran with us, but apparently he seems stuck with something. I've held back the last speaker for one reason, and I'll tell you why. Years ago, when Tata Motors had started Prima Racing, they said we want to make trucking look sexy. That was the word used. So sexy, wow, awesome are not words that go typically with trucking. So when I read about, when I got to know about Mr. Amit Trivedi, he's the Chief Operating Officer of Wow Truck Technology. So Amit, while you can come on stage, I'm sure we'll have a lot of wow things to talk about today. Thank you in advance to my panel. So friends, I have been saying this at the last many CVF forums that road transport or trucking business can be profitable or simply sustainable if we have efficiency. One of the things that we lack in the road transport industry is efficiency. Even a 50 lakh truck today does about 7,500 to 8,000 kilometers a month. That is with a good transporter. Transporter one rank below that would do probably 5,000 a month. So with a 50 lakh investment, this is not the kind of return we are looking at. But I was pleasantly surprised as I was talking to Lakshmi now. Daimler Truck Innovation Center India does a lot of innovation which is not only used in the trucks in India, but the same technology is used in the trucks way back in the US as well. So technology from India for the globe, and that is, I think, phenomenal. So what you're getting in your trucks today is the same what is being used in the trucks in America. So I'll start the panel with Lakshmi. Lakshmi, tell me more specifically what kind of digitization are we using in trucks that are relevant to India and that go abroad as well?
Yeah, so always the technology glitch. But thank you for that question. Um, we, let's say in our organization or Daimler Truck Innovation Center India, we develop the technology which is used across the globe, and that means to say Daimler Truck World. And that's the truck that you see on the road has the technology that has been developed from here. Um, when I say that, what kind of technology that we, so you can see connected trucks, you can see ADAS, you can talk about the entire vehicle, or whether it is piping or hard sheet metal, to data driven insights. And these are some of the examples that we develop for the world. And the engineer over here is envisaging how, what a truck design should look like, what technology should go into it. And also, when there are problems, I have an entire sea of team who takes care of, who makes sure that the uptime is always high and field issues are resolved. So that means to say we also take the remote control of the vehicle anywhere in the world, and we try to service it to make sure that the customer is happy. So there is a lot of technology work that happens from here. And as well as the name goes, innovation, and that means to say our let's say continuous effort to look at the newer technology adoption. I think from morning we are hearing a lot about data, and you also said data is the new oil, and we are not very new to it. So we have a lot of data with us, be it the data produced by the vehicle itself. How do we make sense out of it? What innovation we can bring in? How we can now look at, let's say, artificial intelligence, and what we can solve, which is like, let's say, a very simple use case of providing the information to fleet owners proactively to, predicting what is going to be wrong with the truck in the near future. And these are some of the technology innovation that happens right from Bangalore. So that's something that I'd like to tell the audience, that yes, there is
Incredible.
a technology in every truck that flies on in the globe. It's delivered from Bangalore.
Incredible. And friends, I would like to render my apologies. I forgot to invite a panelist. I was so excited and lost amongst the data. So this is what happens, when there is too much of data, often you miss out on something important. And please welcome Mr. Ritik Kumar, who's a digital product owner at Volvo Group. My apologies, Ritik. And I'm going to make up to Ritik by asking him the next question. Ritik, we just spoke about how important uptime is. Now, at the Volvo Group, how much effort or what kind of effort do you put in to make sure that the truck stays on road? Because when you talk of a Volvo truck, it is a 1 CR plus asset. A transporter cannot, or a mine user cannot afford to have it standing for even probably 10 minutes. How do you make sure that this truck stays on the road basis of whatever data or whatever telematics is available with you?
Hello? Yeah. Thank you, Girish, for finally inviting me. I was thinking maybe that was a wrong picture. That was wrong. But I think we are
That's
fully
happened
aware.
when you skip lunch and have just
Yeah,
dessert.
yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. It's a great pleasure to be at CV Forum. First time, and really glad to have this energetic panel with me. So let me start with something I was listening from the beginning. We talked about technology agnostic. We talked about fuel agnostic. And why leave the world for nothing but being data agnostic? To be very frank, it is actually access to the data which needs to be on an equal level. Everybody should have access to data. So when we say it about uptime of keeping the trucks on the roads every hour, there are so many ways to do it. And we have to adapt to actually what the customer wants. For example, let me put a long haul truck, okay, which is carrying goods from one place A to place B. So you can have actually the easiest thing that we could deploy through the telematics platform is a condition-based diagnostics, which means we can put a snapshot of the entire health of the truck and broadcast it every 5 minutes. And this gets uploaded to the entire our backends. Now this looks like this data is always with the company, and it is, but things have changed a lot. And I'll come to it a little later, but one of the things that we have been able to do with uptime is not keep the operational responsibility to ourselves. In simple words, we basically are able to now, on the request of a technology adopter, we can actually give them access to the data. So here I'm talking about API access to the data generated in our cloud. And what has happened over these things, because when you are giving them a lot of this data, they are actually able to make a segmentation of what we need and what we want. Now, if you see, if we had been doing it for the customers, it would really look like a work, but doing it for them. But when they're doing at their own hands, they know this is my transport cycle, this is my topography. I will use these data for my own purpose, and that's how they are able to make greater insights out of it. So I will say this is the first way of sharing data, and things have gone a long way from DDN or DND, data nahi dega, to data dena padega. Okay, and I'm not joking around it, because if you have seen what has happened in the Data Acts by European Union, they have made it mandatory now. You cannot restrict a third-party repair workshop to use the OEM workshops, OEM tools. And that actually makes sense, because you cannot mandate anything for the manufacturers, from the manufacturers to the workshops. This is not a situation in India, but we will get there very soon. And I'm pretty sure if you have a multi-fleet, you will realize that, oh my God, I have to buy 5 different kind of tools. That means my licensing cost, my subscription, everything is just being multiplied. So this is the change where we have been able to make, and all other OEMs are also trying to push this. Some of us will realize it later, but the things are already set from, at least from our company.
Ritik, probably you and Lakshmi can probably take this question. I speak to a lot of transporters, and they tell me the problem they face is integration of data. So you have the OEM putting up a gadget, you have your telematics putting up a gadget, then you have the government who's now said we have to have VLTD devices in all the trucks. How do you get the marriage of all these together?
So, if I get your question right, you're asking me that, how do we manage the data? And
Integration of data, basically.
Integration of data. So, I will answer that in a minute. But if you look at the OEMs, right, and also I believe the fleet owners, you get a lot of data. You just now said that, we have data everywhere, whether it is vehicle or whether driver himself is producing some amount of data. Your engineering or let's say the whole value system, whether it is manufacturing, when you assemble a truck, when you sell it, when it is serviced, there is a data that is coming in. Like you said, that in Europe there is a regulation where it's mandatory that you have to provide the data when it is asked. In India, we are evolving. We will get there. Yes, of course. But I have a slightly different take on it. It is just not data, right? Data is binary. I mean, you have a lot of, let's say, ones and twos and, hex codes and all kinds of data coming in. What you make sense out of it? How do you democratize this data to get some insight? So, for example, if there are let's say, fleet owners, or if there is a driver, if you are able to make sense out of this data and say that, hey, you know what, you have a problem in understanding, let's say, the road condition or battery regeneration, or even doing the diagnostics proactively, coming up with predictive maintenance. We as OEM are constantly asking ourselves, what does it make sense for our consumers? Be it logistics, be it after sales, or be it the customer or the fleet owners, what can we produce for them as data products, and how can we provide this as, let's say, a value addition without affecting the whole total cost of ownership. And this is what I believe is that we as OEMs are really putting our heads around. And what he said again, I agree with the point to say that you're constantly monitoring the vehicle, you're constantly looking at the health of the vehicle, whether the vehicle will break down somewhere in some kind of terrain, and that means to say the uptime is going to go down. Can I already know that, with the historical data and trend, can I already say that, at this juncture there is going to be a breakdown that we already predicted, and also send the necessary help or get it repaired or even self heal. This is the possibility. So the data comes in from every other functions within the OEMs. How do we make sense out of it? And that is very, very important, because if you ask me, I can just provide my opinion, but without having the combination of data, it is never a good use case solved. Sometimes a driver just need the information. Hey, which is the nearest service station where I can take the vehicle and get it serviced? Are the parts available? And that means the data also is required for parts. So integrating this and creating a holistic view and also insights, and providing the solution and data products which makes sense to our end consumers is very, very important, and that's what we do day in, day out.
Absolutely. Friends, there was a time in the road transport industry, probably a little more than a decade back, youngsters were not ready to join this business, and female transporters were probably one or two to be seen. And one of the reasons was this was a very high pressure job with zero data available. As I told you, a truck would leave the godown. The transporter had no idea of where his truck was till it reached the destination. He had no clue, and that journey could be right from 7 days to 2 weeks. He had no clue. But with technology and with data, things have become simpler. And I think possibly that is also the reason why Harinder joined the transport business. Uh, by the way, she has no lineage in the transport industry. She was from another field. She got in because maybe she found trucks wow and sexy, and she got in. So, Harinder, tell me, you have hopped onto trucks to learn कि हाईवे पर क्या हो रहा है. You actually got onto a truck. लेकिन ऑफिस में बैठ के how much of data is helping you to manage those trucks? How is it making life simpler for you?
See, Garish, as a fleet operator,
Closer.
as a fleet operator, we just not looking at the features and data and technology. We look at outcomes, right? Earlier, many decisions were based on assumptions, phone calls, manual updates, and experience. Experience still is very important, but technology gives us real-time data, right? In terms of safety, drivers, and overall of operational performance, right? I believe the value is not having more data, but having the right data at the right time so that we can take better and faster decision. And I believe technology creates value when it helps us save fuel, enhance driver safety, and of course reduce the uptime and provide best service to our customers. At the same time, I agree with you that we transporters are facing rising in cost and shrinking margins, and every investment should be visible, or should give us outcomes and in terms of uh, margins, right? We transporters are not against the technology, but we want the technology, the tools, those are very simple, affordable, and give us practical outcomes.
But tell me,
And-
Haina, with so much data available to you, in your specific case, how do you pull out what is required for you and how do you use it? I mean, there's so much being thrown at you. How do you pull out what you need? How do you identify that?
See, again, we got the support from the OEMs. We have a control tower in our office. They because we transport are not able to understand, because every truck generator data in every minute, right? Every second, right? So we are not able to understand. I can't, as a VP of the company, I am not able to understand that data, right? I am not from the tech, राइट सो दे अगर आपको हमें कुछ टूल्स देने हैं, यू हैव टू गिव अस 1% फ्रॉम योर एंड, राइट? अदरवाइज हमारे लिए तो जो कॉस्ट ही है, हम पहले डेटा भी लें, टूल्स भी लें, फिर उसको समझने के लिए एक और एम्प्लॉय को लें, हमें उसको सैलरी भी देनी पड़े, अदर बेनिफिट्स भी देने पड़े। तो ये अगर मतलब हमें तो ये एक OEMs ने ऐसे ही दिया है कि उनका एक सेटअप हमारे ऑफिस में है, उनके एम्प्लॉयज़ हमारे ऑफिस में है, वो हमें 4 से 5 चीज़ें जाननी होती हैं कि हमारी गाड़ी कितने किलोमीटर चल रही है, उसका फ्यूल कंजम्पशन क्या आ रहा है, उसकी एवरेज क्या आ रही है, और मेरा ड्राइवर्स की हैबिट्स क्या है, और उसका वो हार्श ब्रेकिंग तो नहीं कर रहा है, कोई एक्सीडेंट हुआ है, जब कुछ हुआ है उसके पीछे रीज़न क्या है, राइट? बस मुझे इतना ही देखना होता है, दैट इज़ वेरी ईजी, दैट आई कैन अंडरस्टैंड। बट वहाँ पे कोई एक्सीडेंट हो गया है, जहाँ कुछ और हो गया, उसके पीछे रीज़न क्या है, आई एम नॉट एबल टू डू दैट। सो अगर आप हमें कोई कुछ टूल या कुछ सोल्यूशन, कुछ सॉफ्टवेयर देने आते हो, वो देते हो, आप बेचते हो और चले जाते हो। आई हैव मैनी एक्सपीरियंस, लाइक मेरे पास ऐसे बहुत से एक्सपीरियंस हैं कि यहाँ पे लोग आए हैं, हमें सॉफ्टवेयर बेच के चले गए, उसके बाद हम फंस गए, पैसा लगा दिया, हमें पता ही नहीं क्या करना है। तो अभी आई एम वेरी मतलब स्ट्रिक्ट विद इट कि अगर आप मेरे पास कुछ टूल्स और सॉफ्टवेयर देने आते हो, प्लीज़ एक एम्प्लॉय भी दे के जाइए, और उसको सैलरी भी आप देंगे, क्योंकि मैं तो आपका सॉफ्टवेयर ले ही रही हूँ ना। तो आई डू दैट। अगर मैं बिना आप मेरे पास सोल्यूशन लेके आ रहे हो, पर उसके पीछे जैसे एक होता है ना, बैंक में लोन देते हैं, है ना, आप लोन देने के टाइम बड़े बड़े वादे करते हो, पर बताते नहीं लोन उतारना कैसे। अगर एक EMI मिस करने वाले हो, उसके ऊपर क्या कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस है। तो आप सॉफ्टवेयर ऐसे ही बेचते हो हमें, आपको पता है हम ट्रांसपोर्ट ज़्यादा सोचते नहीं है, ले लेते हैं। तो अब मैं सीख गई हूँ अपनी गलतियों से कि आप मुझे कुछ देने आते हो, पर साथ में उसका सोल्यूशन, उसके एम्प्लॉय, उसकी सैलरी, उसके वेजेस, उसकी इंक्रीमेंट आपको देखने हैं, तब मैं आपका सॉफ्टवेयर लूँगी, मैं नहीं लेती हूँ।
I think those three will answer those questions, but I think Ritik and Lakshmi want to make a point.
Yes, so very authentically put, I would say, I think this whole audience contains industry experts, fleet owners. Some of you have worked in the technology, you own the trucking industry. What she says is right, and this is where I ask myself a question. I mean, I don't know how many of you use some kind of UPI for payment, right? Most of us, I mean, I don't think we are in an era where we can carry the hard money with us, right? It is all digital. Today, if you see in India, and I'm just taking a very practical example, today if you see in India, a vegetable seller is also able to use UPI. Why? Because the technology is made simple, right? There is a lot of data, there is a lot of insight. But if you go to that persona and tell that, hey, you know what, your annual spend is this much, probably this is the breakup, that person will not understand. And what you said is true, that a lot of data product is thrown at our customers. However, whether is it the need of the hour for them, does it actually make sense? And we say, okay, predictive maintenance, but a person who is driving the truck, a person who is servicing the truck, is it making sense for them? I can say, okay, I will do predictive diagnostics for you, but agar kuch galat ho gaya, then who is responsible for it? Ultimately, fleet owners are getting suffered. So when anybody, for that matter, whether it is OEM or any tech company, is creating a solution, simplicity is the key. We need to understand whether there is need first in place, or otherwise you create a need but make it simple. And that's, I think, totally agree with you on how we should start thinking differently.
Ritik, you had a point to make?
Yeah, I think it's a very valid point. Just to give you a reference, when FAME 2 vehicles was introduced in all over the country. Bangalore was one of the first, and BMTC took the entire fleet of Volvo buses. They were bright red in color. And I had just joined the after sales department. And then we realized that our training was not enough because the technicians were not trained. But more than the technicians, it was actually the people at the depot, the bus depot, who needed to go and actually diagnose the vehicle. So BMTC just placed a request to us, say that your guys need to be over here. Exactly what Madam said over here. This was a phase in which we realized that until people get used to technology, know how to interpret the data, there is no big point of expanding a tool from one market to another. So definitely we learned a lot. Now they are used to it. But there is always this learning curve, and we must learn that the same thing is actually happening now with the connected vehicles made possible because of telemetry. And this is also having the same thing. The data dump that we talked in today's morning session is a reality. We are getting into data swamps. People, they call it beautiful names. We would like to have a data lake. It takes time to do this because whatever insight you can get out from data is as good as pure it is. If it's not pure, it will be not pure. So a lot of things happen over here. And just to add the complexity to it, cybersecurity. Now, if I am in a situation where I can actually do a remote data injection and basically pollute your database. So definitely there is a challenge over here, and there will be a big learning curve for this. But it is also the opportunity for the entire Indian commercial vehicles and of course the passenger vehicles industry, the third-party players, to play a very important role, because their technician level is not going to be anymore a mechanic, a fitter, or a welder. It is going to be a diagnostic technician. And in that respect, I can tell you ASDC, Automotive Skills Development Corporation, is doing a lot of drives to make people aware that our engineers, our diploma guys, these are the people who are going to be day in and day out looking and feeling that data. So this is the big shift of what we are seeing now in the Indian continent. It used to happen outside, but now it's really happening in India. And I think we should all take a positive, momentum from here onwards.
In fact, Ritik, back in the days when telematics was very much at a nascent stage and ERPs were just picking up, a few transporters built softwares which were available for the industry on the whole. But the biggest fear was, is my data safe? Will my data be used by somebody else? So that is when, you had third-party players coming in and offering services. But let me get to the wow factor of transportation. So Amit, what is wow trucks? How do you make trucking wow?
Thank you for the question, and good evening, everybody. Myself, Amit Trivedi. Happy to be here amongst you all. So, to give you a quick perspective of who we are and what we do, the company has been in existence since 2015-2016. The basic nature of business for the company is in the field of logistics, transportation. So, just like a conventional transportation company, we are in the same business. Having said that, we are someone who inculcate the element of technology from the very word go. And that's something which is inherently embedded into every step of the business that we enter into. So what all streams, field of services are we present into? We are present into logistics, we are present into reefer transportation, we are present into 3PL, we are present into the entire spectrum. Starting from, let's say, project cargo, to consumer durables, to automotive, to electronics, we cover the entire spectrum as far as mobility is concerned. We even do last mile, we even do first mile. So the question is, how is it that we are able to bring in the wow factor? How is it that we are able to have the involvement, the engagement of all the stakeholders, where we are able to support them with technology enough to the extent of the same allowing them to make their respective lives easier?
So do you go specific case by the, okay, this is what a client requires and this is exactly what I'm going to give him?
Absolutely. So for me,
Your life made
at
simple
the end of the
in
day,
that.
no, so at the end of the day, what happens is, Girish, I look at my existing template in terms of what I have, in terms of the spectrum of products, suite of products that I am able to offer to my customer. Will he want everything? The answer is no. What is it that will be of use to him to cater to his business situation is what I pick, I choose, and I offer. If it requires me to have some sort of customization carried out for their business requirements, I definitely incorporate that to the best of my capacity. I would say today I'm happy to share that we are able to cater and deliver more than 90% of our customers, at least for the technological requirement that they have. Because one aspect of the business which we allow every business owner to have who engage with us in business is to at least ensure that we are able to create a corporate portal for them, which enables them to have a single window visibility for their entire business. It's like for all the vehicles which are deployed with Wow Trucks, through Wow Trucks, I'm able to see the complete chain of my transaction, starting from the vehicles placed, to the vehicles which are in transit, to the vehicles which are delivered. What is the status of the vehicles which are delivered? So it's a complete, let's say, module which works seamlessly for each and every customer that is available to him at the click of a button. Does he want it? Yes. There are customers who have the demand for that. And for customers who are requiring the hand-holding, we are there to help them and serve that requirement as well.
But given that transporters have traditionally been slow to adopt tech, do you face those challenges, hurdles, especially when it comes to training the staff?
Absolutely.
How do you get down to that?
I think so. Here, I would want to, let's say, quote a case for a client of mine without naming, obviously. What was happening was at every point of time, whilst we were having the implementation of our system being done at their end. Now, this was basically a tier 2 supplier to a tire manufacturing company. And their staff was someone who was from the logistics and the supply chain team. And he was somebody who was at the junior most level, but someone who would call the shots when it comes to, let's say, having things being dictated in the dispatch area. So obviously, he's a very important stakeholder for me, right? And interestingly enough, what used to happen is, आपका technology वगैरह सब छोड़ दो, मेरे को उसके बारे में कोई लेना देना नहीं है, right? He, frankly speaking, used to give 2 hoots. Over a period of time, while engaging with him, understanding, interacting with him, and of course, one evening dining out, that's where I will leave it at, is where I was able to actually get the devil out of the box. To understand that, boss, it is not the people, it is not the, let's say, the service that we are catering to him, it was the system. That was by far becoming the biggest impediment for him to make our operations run smoothly. And he was unfortunately acting like a thorn in the entire scope of operations. Post we understanding that is where we were able to have it ironed, streamlined, and after that there was absolutely no looking back. So yes, people can be an impediment, but they need to be identified and be held on to so that orientation, training, hand-holding can be carried out in a smooth and a seamless manner.
And one of the problems with tech is it changes so fast that before you can get yourself accustomed to one tech, the next upgrade is already there. Like, your phone, software upgrade. And when you upgrade, a lot of things change and then you have to get a hang of it again. Classic case, BLR Logistics is one company who has been investing heavily in tech. So one of the challenges they face is, he told me, Girish, I train my entire staff. They've got about 7-8 branches with a huge workforce. By the time the last man is trained, a new tech upgrade is already there. So they have to start the process all over again. So, but tech, of course, given that the transport industry relies heavily on efficiency now, given the size and the cost of operations, you have to be super efficient. And another aspect to that is the safety part of it. People don't realize that how much an accident can cost them. Your vehicle is down, you lose your business, you lose lives also. And I think untangling the efficiency part is something that Entangles does very well. So, Pratmesh, can you tell me how is tech at Entangles helping the transporter in getting their efficiency and safety in place?
Okay. Thanks, Girish, for a tough question. I thought there is one more related to government compliances, but But she was looking at me when she was saying that कि ये लोग software बेच के चले जाते हैं और वापस नहीं आते. I'm assuming
You
we
know,
are not the ones.
I guess you were the ones.
Okay, cool. So, okay, since it's a post-lunch session, I'll keep it lighter from my side. So I'll tell you a story. And I'm still young, although I've lost a lot of hair very soon. But in the last 10 years of trucking that I have been part of, I always thought, Indian fleet owners are not, adapting the technology. They are slow to adopt. A lot of inhibitions, resistance, etc. In the last 4 years, thanks to my ex-employer Michelin, I was roaming around in Middle East and Southeast Asia. And one very interesting revelation happened. I was in a transit agency. It's a state owned, like government owned transit agency bus depot I was at. I can't name the country and because you'll guess it. It was state of the art. Okay, 6 panel TVs, 3 people sitting in front of them. They're tracking I don't know what all things, vehicle bus utilization, fuel efficiency, driver habits, etc. And since it's Middle East, who is the guy operating it? It has to be Indian. So, and I asked that fleet manager or the operator, I said, what exactly are you doing and how did you build all this? He said, you know what? I used to work in a Pune-based bus transport agency. Again, I'll not take the name. And I built this thanks to the very tech and progressive owner. In 2019, I moved here 3 years before and I copy pasted what I did in Pune. So, so all my world changed, and I said, what exactly is happening in our industry right now? And thanks to AIS 140 also, everyone, and since she mentioned on UPI, so when this digital trinity was announced by Government of India, you know the Janadhan bank account, the Aadhaar. All 3 things come together, and now there is a completely different and a highly growing mutual fund or share market or financial industry, financialization of India, which is happening. I'm very much gung-ho about same thing happening through AIS 140. And I'll come to how we are doing in AIS 140. So in AIS 140, what is happening is the trinity is now 3. You have the National Logistic Policy of Government of India, which has opened door to a lot of data. I don't know if you guys know, there are 2,000 plus data points available with Government of India across multimodal. Okay. Second is how do you connect to this database through AIS 140 norm. And the third and very interesting part of this story of this trinity is the second generation tech savvy fleet owner. So the 2 of them are sitting in front of us. So and there are so many. There are so many that I can name in North of India, Bangalore, everywhere that I go. It's a completely different generation which operates at a different speed and requirements. So at Entangles, we are going through a challenge of upgrading our solutions. Bangalore Logistics is our customer, so I'll take the blame again. Because almost every fleet owner comes up with, I will not say customized use case, but specific problems to solve. Okay. Now, I'll wear my OEM hat. I used to be with Mahindra before. So in Mahindra, when we started IMAX, I think in 2018, we went through a story where fleet owners were telling, because of your fuel theft, our drivers are running away. Please stop catching fuel theft. To now that you are not catching enough fuel theft. So it's a very interesting story. And through AIS 140, I think with the new norms, this trinity will get completed. And we see humongous benefit. I think for every AIS 140 device, and not ours, I'm saying, anyone, the fleet owners, if they are paying round about 10,000 rupees, they'll end up recovering 30,000 something. The specific use cases that we solve, and it's music to my ears now, because in the 3-4 years, Girish, when we used to meet in conferences like these, nobody was talking about productivity and uptime. These words were not there. Okay, everybody used to talk about cost, and now fleet owners, have realized because of the thin margins that they have, if they want to make higher and a bit of a finance, higher return on capital employed, there are 2 things only that they have: how much cost that can control, which gives you margin, and how many number of trips you can do. So if you multiply, like there are 2-3 listed, transporters in India. One is a behemoth. If you see, their return on capital employed has gone up from 6-7% to 15-20% in the last 5 years. Why is that happening? Now that is happening because A, the roads are better. B, transporters have started optimizing cost a lot. and GST, higher speeds, etc. I'll give you a recent example. We did a story on the famous Bombay-Pune missing link, connected link now. And it is all over the media. And it's a very interesting story. We just did it because we are very curious at Entangles. There is no business going to come because of that. So we were seeing before missing link and after missing link, how the Bombay-Pune truck and bus have started benefiting. So you can scavenge any of the newspapers. You will see the number 272 crore worth of fuel saving is expected per annum. Now this is coming from hard data. This is not, let's say, any government entity with some other intentions and promotions, etc. This is our own data thanks to our transporter that we are able to see. And now some transporter who saw, who's our also customer, they said, you claim that 20% fuel efficiency has improved before after. It's a huge number. Okay, so 0.35 liters per trip is what they are saving. And then they went back and said that I also want that 20%. I'm just able to get 10% right now. So that is what people are finding use cases. On ma'am's point, and I'll rest my case after this. Unfortunately, in IT or software or services companies, we think that whatever we make is the best thing. I'm saying not on behalf of OEMs, they're much bigger. If I were in your place, I would like to have a WhatsApp alert saying that, "Kaur ma'am, ये truck जो है 4 दिन के बाद में बंद पड़ने वाला है because engine का issue है." So we can go to that level.
And that's happening, I think, now.
That's happening,
It's
but
happening.
it depends like what kind of use cases you would like to have.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
One of the challenges of having such a huge panel is that by the time you get to the last panelist, a lot has already been spoken. But to console my last panelist, I always save the best for the last. So, Devikant, tell me, with so much of electronics and so much of data available all around, how do we get all this, how do we collate all this together, and how do you help the fleet owners to make the most of it?
Yeah, thank you for the question. And I understand a lot of challenges that my fellow panelists also talked about. So I touch upon them and then I'll come to the question that you have put in. So the first question, if I have to add to that, or the challenge faced by fleet operator, wherein you have a lot of data, very difficult to understand what it means. And that's been the case, starting from authoring the data that you wanted to configure in a vehicle, and the data that you collect and data you put it across. So across all the phases of the data that gets into the vehicle, be it on the CAN, LIN, any protocols, the vehicle speed, the tire pressure, and so on and so forth. So the way the data is put, it is very complex, even for a highly experienced engineer to understand that hexadecimal numbers is very complex job. So we call it as DTCs, and then we have this UDS service, very beautiful protocol where you can just read the DTCs, and then there is a tool to read, there is a tool to configure, there is a tool to generate. So it's all tools. There is no human. So it's really complex to understand what the data really means. That's the challenge. And the second challenge is the tools, which you talked about. Since each OEM has their own way of putting the data, the own way of representing the data for whatever the reasons, there is a challenge for a fleet operator if he has certain brand of vehicles dealing with, then they want to change the brand or buy a new vehicle from a different OEM. He got to change the kind of a system and educate the one who is operating it. So that's another challenge. So I'll address these two challenges. So the first challenge is to do with the DTCs, or complex way of putting it with the new standard that is coming up called a service-oriented vehicle diagnostics. This will be form of a text format. There is no need to understand the hexas, convert into have the compute methods and scaling, offset, this, that. So with the new exchange format, called SOVD, Service-Oriented Vehicle Diagnostics, it will give you a beautiful text file, which is also readable by LLMs with less number of tokens. That's also one of the reasons. So the data representation is taking a big shift. That's as we speak, it's started into the Western markets, and we are also speaking a lot with Indian OEMs also. And this is also addressing the other challenge of representing the data in different formats. And here it is just the text format, and you don't need different tools. And the way, if I may talk about the AutoSAR standard, what it did to the automotive industry in a big scale, where you standardize the interfaces and you don't have to worry about how the driver is developed by a silicon vendor. You just develop the above modules. Just like that, the data is taking shape wherein you represent it so in a standard format where you don't need it. Or anybody can develop a tool, or it's self-readable. You don't need a mission to understand that. That's the other aspect. And now coming to the question that you have put, there is a lot of electronics already in the vehicle, and we know that we have the ADAS regulations kicking in less than 12 months, so to say, and there is ADAS safety features that are getting in. And you mentioned about as the end user get used to how to understand this. There is a new technology coming in, and one of the reasons is this, that when a new regulation comes in which requires new sensors, for example, in this case we need a lot of radars, cameras, especially for driver drowsiness, lane departure, emergency brake. For all this we need to have a certain set of new sensors, right? Cameras, radars, ultrasonic and all. Now these kind of sensors, which are more of video than text, what we used to have, requires a complex algorithms to be executed. And the languages that we have been using, C and all, it's not possible to compute in such a short span of time. So we go with object-oriented programmings, and which means we need to go with high-performance computings. So, and then you can imagine it would create such complex algorithm if you want to debug, if you want to understand if something is not working. The DTCs would never work. It's just not possible that with a DTC you will be able to understand where the problem is. And this further requires, especially when we go to processor from the controller side, it's more of Linux, POSIX based operating systems. So it's not just one single bit or a set of bits. It's a lot of data that need to be analyzed. So SOVD, the standard that I mentioned about, is also coming up with capturing the whole data. So there's a lot of bandwidth that is required to capture the data, so to say, and it's kind of given now. We have always connectivity and over the air, and we are able to get the data. So the reason why the new regulations brings in new sensors, actuators, and then the complexity. So it's kind of evolving, and we are in a phase wherein the standard that SOVD would make things very simple going forward for decades to come.
Right. Friends, one of the challenges with the transport industry has been in the cost escalation of running this business. So you had BS4 trucks, then BS6, then BS6 OBD2, then now you have AC cabins. Of course, the government is trying to make life better for the industry, for the drivers on the whole. But I think Prathamesh and Amit can probably take this question. While mid-sized companies and large companies can invest in the kind of back-end technology that helps them improve efficiency, lower cost, and manage things, what about the small van transporters? Let's say the 1 to 20 truck guy. Can he use tech, and to what extent?
Yeah, thanks, Girish. So, and I'll try to put myself into a small driver owner, Malak Salak kind of a person. So, they are dependent on revenue. As in, when is the next freight that they are going to get? They are dependent on mostly if the truck is going to be working at least at that time. What happens to the truck otherwise is not that important. So, technology, the way we are seeing, and it's not my opinion, the way we are seeing on the platform, you will be surprised, Girish, that these kind of folks are heavy users of platforms. Heavy users of platform than the large fleet owners. Large fleet owners generally, they tend to look at the map page and then fuel, and then some people are looking at error codes, etc. The small driver cum owner fleet size guy, they are looking at vehicle utilizations, They are looking at what their average speed have been. If there is a dip in the average speed, they'll call the command center saying that आपका data गलत है. Then they'll rediscover that there was some problem, etc. All those kind of things happen. So then they are also constantly asking us for API integrations so that they can get more business. So they can be on some freight sharing platform. They can use the fleet petrol cards, diesel cards. And that tech savviness we see over there much more.
Amit, like to add?
I strongly endorse every word of what my friend has said, and couldn't be agreeing with him better than this. For the simple reason that the granularity of data, which let's say the small to medium fleet size owners are looking at, is something which we do not look at when it comes to the bigger operators. I definitely consider them to be as part of the same community that I am. But we look at, I also consider ourselves as, let's say, fleet owners. Small fleet owners, we are bigger on the tech side, smaller on the fleet side at the current point of time. Having said that, it's something which allows us to establish the importance of it, strike a balance of how much is too much, most importantly, and at the same time, when we, let's say, gather the intelligence and we are talking to, let's say, our drivers also, for example, we have to ensure that we don't land up intimidating them in any way at all. I think that is the most important thing.
Yes.
Right? And that is one thing that we as a company are very, very, let's say, present to, because no matter what amount of technology, no matter what amount of intelligence, no matter what amount of money that people are willing to spend to make things more predictable, to bring things more under control, fact of the matter is, boss, at the end of the day, वो driver है जो आपका A to B achieve करता है, establish करता है, enable करता है. If I'm not going to respect that guy, if I'm not going to respect his sensibilities, if I'm not going to respect what drives him, I have lost the game even before it started.
Absolutely.
So I believe very, very strongly that the centerpiece in this entire discussion still remains the driver for us, who's actually, हम पैसा लगाते हैं, right? Customers अपना goods move करते हैं, right? My team is the one who's doing the tracking, the follow-up, the monitoring, the rigor which is required, the reporting, सारी चीजें होती हैं. At the end of the day, the centerpiece in this entire game is the driver.
In fact, Amit, I tell this at all forums, people don't realize the importance of drivers in our lives.
Absolutely.
See, since we are connected as part of this industry, we know, okay, drivers hai. But a common man out there doesn't realize that the milk or the vegetable that he's getting at home, or जो fancy Amazon से रोज parcel आ रहे हैं, somewhere or the other, it has traveled in a truck. So that is the relevance and importance of a driver, which unfortunately we don't see. Coming from drivers to the very extreme end, the new buzzword in the industry, or what we are seeing around, is artificial intelligence. And I'd like Lakshmi and Ritvik, sorry. Are you guys working on AI, and how do you think AI is going to help in this?
I was waiting for this question.
How could a tech guy not talk about AI?
I like what you're saying, because as a tech adopter, you are more keen to actually build that quickly, if necessary, make a lot of iterations and make it workable. Okay, OEMs have a different way. Not that we all don't want faster things, but coming back to your questions, here is the interesting thing. AI in the world of, uptime, reliability, OEE, has to be taken from a different stand, because I am in the after sales and I know that 50% of my time is still with reactive, okay? A considerable amount is still scheduled. I know that these bays will be filled with these customers and their vehicles. Now comes the transition, proactive. Okay, the proactive. Who is a proactive guy? Somebody at the uptime center trying to log into a vehicle remotely and trying to get if there is any alerts which must be treated quickly. Then comes predictive. Okay, and
Ritvik, you have 15 seconds.
to the end of
Lakshmi,
it. Yeah,
30 seconds and we'll get on to some Q&As.
sure. Then I will leave the rest of the AI to Lakshmi.
Lakshmi, 30 seconds.
Yes, so I think we needed AI to just predict that. But here is what I feel, right? So AI is here. AI is real. Artificial intelligence. We are creating a lot of technology using AI, and we are evolving it. But this is my opinion: is that the technology still is evolving, and that means to say a human in loop is very much needed. Otherwise, we are hallucinating. Otherwise, we are not providing, and we are creating the problem bigger, or we are pushing it to another way. So, getting it right and constantly monitoring it and constantly making the tech better is the future. And also, I think OEMs are having a larger focus because this is where the reality will come into play, where it will predict, it will be able to, the AI, with the help of AI, the fleet owners will be able to get the simple data and not just software बेच के चले जाते हैं. So that's what I feel.
Wonderful. Friends, let me open up the floor to the audience. Any questions for any of our panelists? Okay. Jinal. This is a question I get it all. I hear it all forums. Who will own the data?
Yeah.
They were having coffee then.
Who will own the data? Simple question.
Hello. Yeah. Who will own the data? That is the first question, right? So in India, OEMs will own the data. There is no question about it.
Okay. Harinder, whose truck is it?
Yes, because there is no regulation. That is why the situation is like this.
That answers me.
But Jinal, very interestingly, since you posed this question, I was at a panel with NHEV. So what NHEV said was, if the data is emerging from the truck, it is the transporter who owns the data, and the OEM can use that data for aligning the operations.
That's a discretion. He rightly said there's no regulation today.
There's no regulation.
At some point, you're going to analyze the driver behavior.
Yes.
At some point, it comes a personal data.
Yes.
And that's the angle that we need to be careful when we're looking at that aspect. At end of 2035, who owns the data? Owns the customer. So,
Yeah, you're right. So in the Western world, if you see, there is something called as data
GDPR.
consent, and GDPR is in place. And in Indian ecosystem, we are still evolving. But democratization of data has to happen, and that means that the fleet owners will also own the data, and we need to take the consent to use. When I say we, OEMs need to take the consent to use that data and come up with the insights. So you're right. In the Western world, it's already in practice, but here we are evolving.
is the hook, is the right time. See what Netflix did, see what Amazon did, subscription, yes, click, say yes for privacy. And at some point, that's what I wanted to understand. At some point, the truck owners should own the data and the discretion should be with them,
Yes.
right?
Absolutely. Jihima, your question. Okay. Prathamesh wants to add
In
a
our
line.
case, it's simple. My customer pays for the platform. He owns the data.
I just want to know when did
As
integration happen?
as a very learned
Because
person
there
said,
are, like,
keep it
for
simple.
example, I'm a fleet owner who has all 4 OEMs working, right? I'm working with all 4 OEMs. Plus, I have temperature sensors which are not with the OEMs. I can't put temperature sensors. So I have an individual device, and I have OEMs giving out data with their device, which is AIS 140. Do you see integration of data happening in one platform? And if yes, then why should there also be a charge? So as a transport fleet owner, I'm only bleeding. So is there ever going to be a space where everything is going to be available at one platform with a very nominal charge? Of course, when you say that...
She's asking for a discount basically.
Discount नहीं पूछ रही हूँ आगे जाके कभी ये होने वाला, because last time in CVF someone had said there is going to be integration of data for all OEMs, and there are also Entangle and other
Right.
people who are also coming up with a lot of data. How much data and customization of course happens for clients, but transporters like us, of course, we keep bleeding. I have to take, for example, I have to take an Entangle because I have to put temperature sensors, because OEMs cannot have those sensors in their device. So, and plus I have to spend on AIS 140. So, how much is a, so yeah.
No problem at all.
He's in,
Because it's a tech,
he's in profits for sure.
No, so okay. Even difficult cases, you have seen those door sensors on buses, on BST buses or something. So we have integrated those. Reefers के लिए temperature sensors. One big petroleum OMC came to us to put sensors inside the tank level sensor, not the diesel sensor, and then integrate that. So the good part of having third-party providers, those can have little more liberty.
Can you integrate that in AIS 140?
Yes.
You can?
Yes.
Okay, we meet on Monday in my office then.
Thank you, Girish.
Then I don't need OEM data.
Yes, Manish.
Yeah, I have this question to OEMs. I mean, you can answer it on behalf of all the OEMs. So as a customers, probably we do not invest into technologies. That is understood. We have our limitations with respect to finance and other reasons. Generally, with OEMs also, we've seen that the person who comes to our office is the same person from the last 5 to 10 years, right? He must be switching over from one OEM to another OEM. When we have a question over some data, he is not knowing that answer. So how much of amount of time and resources are you investing into training your resources with respect to this data and AI?
So, I mean, this is my experience, right? And OEMs, I'm sure we will all share the experience, but this is my personal view. I'm in the OEM space for the last 11 or more than a decade, right? And of course, I think many people would have seen me. It is the evolution, right? The technology is evolving every single day. And also people along with it are also learning, upskilling themselves. Data and AI is not very recent, but yes, it is not as old as the truck itself. So this means to say we are constantly looking at adoption of new technology, training our people, generating the results, and then person who is going and talking tech is having a fair bit of understanding of the technology, the newer technology, and what benefits the technology can provide. And this is what we constantly looking at. So training, constant training, and working on different use cases, collaborating with let's say the tier 1 suppliers, and understanding and adapting within the OEM space itself. This is what we are constantly doing. So upskilling is something that is a very agile and continuous process.
Okay, we'll take one last question.
Question for the OEM again. As we all are talking about the safety, but what I've been seeing, the OEMs and even all the players are working only on the data and for the profits. But what about the safety? As the smallest and simplest thing like dash cam also is not available for the truck. Dash to bahut dur ki baat ho gayi, but we don't have a simple thing like dash cam in the trucks. So what is the reason why OEM are not so concerned about the safety, and why safety is being ignored for so long? So what is the reason?
No. Safety, will we accept safety without any quality standards? That is the bigger question. Acceptance of that safety device is more important rather than the feature. So, for example, if you see the stalls over here, we're really seeing good dash cams and many other, for ADAS things, okay, driver alert systems. The point is that it's good. First of all, it's good that we have an in-house player rather than the OEM, because we have global products. This is the important thing. You cannot make a global product be sold at a lower price just because the market is different. No, it doesn't work that way. You somehow transfer it. So in this space, specifically the ADAS space and all that, now you see the kind of retrofits that are coming up. All they need to do is get it standardized more and more. And then it is not going to be competition. Then the choice is left actually to the customer. Sir, do you want a OEM fitted dash cam, or do you also have the options of getting it from a third party supplier?
I think these solutions are available. It's up to the fleet owner whether he wants to take it or not.
Girish, my question is, why do we have to go for outside? Why can't OEM provide this directly?
Because transporters
It's
are
even a
not
cost.
willing to spend. That's the problem.
I am paying 35 lakh rupees for the truck. You think I won't pay 5 to 10,000 rupees?
A lot of you won't. I know
But
that.
Chirag, I want
A lot of
to
you
add,
won't. I think-
Girish, I want to add that we need to our drivers give some training, and we need to unko batana padega that these devices are there for their safety, vehicle and the shipment.
Yes.
And we have to educate them, and we have to convey their one thing, that we are not going to breach their privacy at all. They are thinking that we are going to watch and keep an eye on them 24/7. They have their private life in the truck as well. So we
Chalo,
have to
ADAS ho
educate
gaya. What
our
about the
drivers
airbags?
as well.
Airbags to ho sakta hai.
When I implemented those camera into our trucks, it took lot of time to make my drivers understand that this is for their safety. So we need
that
to
education
sometimes-
awareness part has to be there. We'll take this offline.
Yeah.
Mr. Ram, I'll just come to you. John, just a minute. Yes, John. Quick, and we'll have just 30 seconds because
10 seconds. Hi, I'm John. We all talked about data, but why can't we monetize data and the logistic players, the truck players get money? It is something very simple. I've not heard any discussion out here on how you can monetize data. It's truck players, one-way street. Please give me money. Rima, money. That's all we're going to say. So monetization of data can easily happen. And I can just add, today, if you have all your trucks running out here, the data, if you give to any oil marketing company and to say, this is how my lubricant is working or my auto parts are working, for them, it's priceless. So if we can work that out, then I think we can solve the problem. What the truckers are saying or the fleet owners are saying is reduce our cost. हम में भी 2 पैसा बनाओ और आप भी 2 पैसा बनाओ और या 4 पैसा बनाओ.
absolutely.
That's it.
Yes, sir.
No, I just want to use an answer to what he was saying. Why is cameras not fitted? And ask them, is that correct? Will that be okay? Do truck manufacturers do what is required or what is necessary for compliance? Sorry, I am a truck manufacturer for 50 years, so I know exactly what we do. So, for
Actually,
example,
you can answer this question best.
No, I am just asking, is this the right answer?
I think you can answer that better, I think.
Okay. Now this, okay. Just to make a point, and talking about data monetization, when I buy a television, a lot of data from that goes to the television manufacturer for improving it. Is that my data or his? If it is data on driver usage, I agree, I'll give it to him. But I have spent billions in order to make this truck and I don't know everything about it. And I get to know as you use. And those days I used to go sit under the truck and find out what's happening. Nowadays I can do it sitting on my table. Does this data belong to me or to the truck operator? Just a question.
Food for thought.
So
think we had one question
this is
there.
not a simple answer to these things. I agree that there is a need to share data with truck operators to make his operation better. That I'm all for it. You want whatever API, and most of it should come free to you, is my belief. Though in a commercial sense, because we also make only 3% on every truck, we have to charge.
That's besides the discount you have to give.
Okay. Anyway, I'll leave it to you.
Get a question there? Okay, one last question, and then we'll wrap this up.
So, hello, I'm Prateek. I'm from Entangles, but my question is directed to the fleet operators right now, sitting in front here and over there. We spoke in the morning, the OEMs talking about the data being there, it's accurate, it's fairly usable. But we saw large fleet owners talking about the fact that it's not usable for them. So trying to understand, because at Entangles, this is where we sit in between. So trying to understand where's the gap. Is it the communication is not going right? Is it the ecosystem or the infrastructure is not in place to, act on that data? Or is it the data very complex? Where's the gap? What's the reason that this data is unable to provide the value that has been promised? Or
I think, I'll tell you, Pratik, one of the challenges with this industry is change doesn't happen very easily. Because while you may sit in the office taking decisions, giving instructions, but the last man to use this is your driver. Unless he doesn't implement whatever is given to him, your operations are not going to be as good as you want them to be, right? So it will be a time till we get there, but we'll close this session here. And a huge thank you to my wonderful panel. You guys are absolutely amazing. And we have come this far in tech, and let me give you 2 reasons why tech has been successful in this business. One is the volumes have grown to an extent where you cannot operate without tech. It's impossible. 50% तो ठीक था, वो लाल book में लिख के कर दिया. Second is the youth. So I have seen old transporters sitting in their offices till night, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, even till 2 a.m. Truck भर रहा है, वो ऊपर बैठा है. Youngsters are not going to do that. They're going to look at the easy way out. They're going to look at tech. I know transporters who now go back home in the evening at 5, possibly look at some reports once they are back home, but they get time with their families. They have a personal life, which wasn't the case earlier. And with tech growing, I'm sure life will become much more simpler for them. Profits will also grow if used wisely. So friends, this is a wrap for the last panel of the day. You've been a wonderful audience. You guys managed to stay awake also. So thank you very much. Good evening. Good night.